This is what we call a neglected barbecue. It's been left in the corner and just to rust away and get dirty for years.
This is why we can't have nice things.
So we inherited it for free off some people that shortly after buying a barbecue decided that the idea of having a barbecue was better than actually having a barbecue. Now what you can see, it's clearly covered in a lot of cornflake size, rust, spots. Still greasy from the last time they used it, but that doesn't necessarily mean they left it well oiled. And after a while, without proper maintenance, you're going to end up with a barbecue looking like this. So there's many ways to do this, but I decided to have a go at electrolysis. My first step was to take the high pressure cleaner to all those cornflake style rust parts. And pretty much all I want is to get the flakes off and get rid of all the dirt, grease and grime that may get in the way of the electrolysis doing its job. I'm not looking for a sparkling clean, but I want a good surface to work with. So here's my 2 plates, and you can see there's still got the rust in it, and the majority of the dirt and grime is gone. So we'll work on now setting it up in the tub. The tub is just a cheapo you can get from Bunnings or any hardware store. Now I found this old bit of steel with the house. It's got a good 20mm plate base on it, which I figure will be really good for what I need. Now it's only sacrificial, but I do need to clean it up a bit. So quick session on the grinder, again getting off all the flakes. But with this, the more surface area the better. It's really going to improve your results the more clean surface area you got. So I gave it a good going over the grinder. Then I put on a real brand new flat disc and quite a high grit on it and just smashed it until I had it as clean as possible. You might be thinking that swapping over to a flat disc for an application like this is just an expensive waste of a flat disc, because they are quite expensive. But I do have quite a few of them that I got for freebies, and it takes off a lot of material when they're brand new, and it will give me a lot of good surface area to work with, so I thought, stuff it. She'll be right, you only live once, so you might as well grind with ease. Here I'm just chopping up a little bit of scrap wood. This is so I can use it as insulators between the 2 different plates, both the sacrificial and the workpiece. This way they're not going to touch and create a dead short circuit, and I'm actually going to be using the electrolyte that I've made. You can see I've assembled them in such a way that it's only the corners that are touching the metal and the rest of the area is free. This is going to help with the actual process. So I've laid it out nice, and you can see how it's electrically insulated before I've submersed it in the water. Next step for me was to take a trip down to the shop into the cleaning aisle, some generic washing soda, and the most important part here is to make sure it's sodium carbonate. This is what's going to make it work. I used a standard plastic bucket to fill up the tub, that way I could keep track of how many litres I was using. But this only works when you've got an idea of what sort of ratio you want between the water and the sodium carbonate, and I didn't know. This is my first time doing a project this size, so I just went and chucked the whole bag in. Seemed about right. You can see how I made sure that my whole workpiece was submerged in the water. I left the stem out on the sacrificial, but that's just going to act as a conductor for ease, but the main base plate's done. As I poured in the bag of...
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay! Do you understand that?
Washing powder, I realised that it wasn't really dissolving anywhere as quick as I thought it would. So I bent up a welding rod, threw it in the drill, and gave it a good old mix up. I'm not sure how important this step is, but it's not going to hurt, so might as well do it. Time for the power supply, and one thing to be careful of is you don't want any of these smart chargers. These are terrible. Anything that says intelligent, smart, protective, pretty much all the good stuff is not what we want here. We just want a dumb old charger, pretty much a power supply, which is actually what I used. So I got this, picked it up down at J-Car, you'll find something similar where you are, and just run the banana lead straight in there with the clips. You'll notice I've got the black negative lead on the workpiece and the positive lead on the sacrificial piece. That way the atoms and whatnot go the right way. You'll see it start bubbling up straight away as soon as it's working, and you'll get instant confirmation. Now, depending on the quality of your electrolyte and the surface area of your steel, you'll get different amount of amperage. But I've set mine to about 8 volts and I'm pulling about 4 amps. And as you can see, well, it's a bit hard when I'm this zoomed out, but it's bubbling along quite nicely. Just checking the time so I know how long I've left it in there for. And it's the waiting game. So you've done hard work, might as well get yourself a beer. And all it is now is to sit back, let a few hours pass, leave it overnight, you can leave it for a couple of days. All depends on the workpiece and what you're at. But for me, no rest for the wicked, and I'm going to have a little go at another trick I learnt about attacking the surface rust on the outside of the stainless barbie. Just like the inside, the outside's looking a bit rough, even though it had a cover. So a little trick is grab yourself some alfoil and a bucket of water, scrunch up the alfoil nicely, and then it's just up to you to softly rub it on. And just a little bit of elbow grease here, and you'll see the difference. I'll just do this top corner for a few minutes, and you can start to see the results. Now, it's up to you how hard you go. You might get some scratching, so it's a patience thing. You're polishing more than you are sanding here, otherwise you will get some strange scratches. I try and think random orbital thoughts as if I was a sander myself, and try not to go up and down like this too much if you care about your barbecue that much, because you will leave scratches, but you can polish them out. So here we are back after a couple minutes, and this is the old versus the new. Clearly better. I can go longer, but I've got a better job on.
Shiny and chrome.
So it's been about 3 hours, and look at all the rust flakes. You can just see them just going around in there. The electrolyte does get quite gross. The bits that are left on here, they just need a bit of a brush off. You can see I'm just using a soft brush. If you're going to be using a wire brush, you might as well just sit there with your elbow grease and have a good go at it. But don't feel disheartened if it doesn't look perfect coming out. If it's not looking too good and up to your expectations, put it back in. This is only 3 hours, which is not very long to leave a plate of this size sitting. And I pulled this up just to check it really, see what the progress was like. If you clean something and then put it back in, you're going to get better results again. But this water, as you can see, I think the majority of it's come off. So just again, light brushing, get it all off. This is the type of hard work they'll send you to drink really. But only 3 more to go, so happy me. Here's the sacrificial plate after just 3 hours. So you can, for best results, you'd take this out and you'd clean this grime off. You can see where it's been sitting on the wood, the insulator of the wood, as I was saying before about sitting on the corners. That still looks almost as good as when I cleaned it. But the rest is covered, it looks like it's been sitting under the jetty covered in barnacles for decades. Yeah, you got to give this a good clean, just a quick brush off before you put anything else in, otherwise it's just not going to be as effective. The whole process is going to slow right down. But as you can see, it is taking a lot of crap from the plate and putting it on here. Okay, so I've done both the plates now, and I'm just going to fire at the barbecue, which impressively, yeah, all the burners seem to be working quite well, so quite impressed with that. I suppose it hasn't been used for them to get clogged up, so they're practically brand new. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the barbecue to heat up the plates and get rid of all the water, because rust will set back in really quickly, especially how clean they are now. They're just prone to rust. So I'm going to heat them right up, leave them sit for about 20 minutes. It's probably more longer than I need, but I want to make sure I get rid of all the water, just bake it right out, and then we'll put a protective covering of oil on. But as you can see, the rust is really gone. The lighting's pretty bad because it is pissing down rain outside, and I had to use the big old mercury bulb. Just doing hell to my power bill right now, but that's life. But not an ounce of rust. The non-stick coating coming off, but a barbecue this age, that's going to happen anyway. I don't think it got a hard use. I think that's just time. As you can see, it's bloody hot in there. I've just been letting it simmer in there for a while now. So I'll turn off all the gas and we'll have a go at giving it a bit of an oil up. Any oil's fine for this. I just nicked this out of the kitchen before the missus saw me. You could use spray oil, but I want a deep penetrating oil, so I'm actually going to put a lot on here and just let it sit, really let it soak in. And then after a while I'll flip it and I'll do the other side. You can use spray oil because it will get into the grooves and the nooks and crannies a lot better. Or you can just take your time, wad it on like I'm doing. I don't know whether spray oil will be as effective because it's mixed with a propellant, obviously. I'm not too sure on that. But I know any old sunflower, peanut, vegetable, whatever you'd use to cook on your barbecue, you can use to seal it. And this is a big important step with barbecue care. When you finish using it, just give it a good oil over. Because you clean that off next time before you use it, but it protects it in between. Don't leave it dirty, you still clean it, then give it a wipe down of oil, but it will protect it in the meantime. As I'm oiling it here, you can see this is the difference from what it started off like to what it is now. So there you have it. Here's the end result. I think it came out great. A lot better than I could have really asked for. So if the barbecue plates didn't sell it for, here's some normal garden hedge secateurs I did. You can see me oiling it here with WD-40. It's just the normal stuff you use for your garden teeth type apparatus, shears, whatnot. This is going to protect it really well. You can see the difference. One I did and one I haven't done. This was only about an hour or so in there. And here's a big old masonry drill bit. I threw this in there. This was in there for a little while, about 3-4 beers time, 5-6 beers time. But the results in this are ridiculous. From this to this, absolutely amazing. So I do have future plans to put a bit of expanded metal mesh in the bottom, so I can do small parts like this without having to individually connect each one. I can just put them all in the mesh and that'll form that connection. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but it's a plan to do in the future. But look at this. This is just unreal.